the north, the powerful north, and then the southeast, correct?
Yeah.
The Yoruba land
southwest.
Southwest is Yoruba land. Now, he has a poll that we're going to interrogate what the poll says. But the election is how many months away?
I think it's about 2 months or so, because it's up in February.
Yeah.
Probably 3 months.
Bello will later on become the mayor of Sokoto one day, I believe that. But for now, he's an analyst. Okay. Welcome, Alhassan Bello. So who are these? These
are the candidates. This is Bola Tinubu running for APC.
Front runner of the election?
Yeah, for APC. And then you have Atiku Abubakar from PDP.
The other front runner?
Yeah. But then
the dark horses are these two.
Yeah, these are these two. And then per opinion polls.
Okay, let's say a bit about Peter Obi. Where is he coming from?
He's from the north, southeast.
Yes, that's his tribal base.
This
Igbo.
Yeah, Igbo.
Okay.
From the eastern part of the country.
Yeah. So let's look in the recent history. Has an Igbo run since Ojuku's effort at taking the Igbos out of Nigeria? Has an Igbo run for national presidency?
No, we had Igbo vice president and Shehu Shagari.
What's his name?
I can't remember his exact name.
So the one who won...
But then prior to that...
Shagari's support base was in the north, fundamentally.
In the north, yeah.
And he got an Igbo running mate who he won the election with. Okay, so go on.
And but prior to that, at Independent, we're having this parliamentary system. So the Igbo was a president, which is Nnamdi
Azikiwe.
And likewise, Igbo was a speaker of the Senate. And that was one of the reasons why...
Okay, so the three founding fathers, as they say in Nigeria, Tafawa Balewa was from where?
From the north.
Nnamdi Azikiwe
from the east, and then
the other one was what?
Awolowo. No, Awolowo.
Awolowo, yes.
But the issue with Tafawa Balewa.
Awolowo was Yoruba.
Yoruba from the southwest.
Okay, and Tafawa Balewa was from the north.
Yeah, from the north.
And Azikiwe
from the
Nnamdi
east.
Zik.
But
very solid intellectual.
But the controversy of Tafawa Balewa was that he's actually a subordinate to Sardauna Ahmadu Bello.
Yes.
Who was actually the leader of the Northern People's Congress. He should have been the prime minister. But he refused to take the premiership position. So, on paper, whilst Tafawa Balewa was the prime minister, people still question his leadership, that he has to defer to his leader.
Okay. Which is okay.
And that was one of the things that people thought also made the government very ineffective.
Okay, so let's do a quick history. So that was the three founding fathers. Yeah. Who led the Nigeria until 1965, it was, when the coup occurred.
Yeah, 66.
66, when the coup occurred,
sure.
Okay. So after the coup, the military came in. The military were in until Shagari. Shagari is 1980.
The military.
So from 66 to 80 was military rule.
No, from Shagari was... No, you had
79,
80.
Well, September 79.
There was military rule. That was Yakubu,
so military rule from 66.
Murtala Obasanjo then.
No, so Yakubu Gowon started.
Yeah.
Then Mohamed Murtala came in.
Yeah, and then
Obasanjo. Yeah. Gowon was in there somewhere. Gowon was the head of state when the civil war came.
Yeah, there was
in the early 70s.
There were two coups in that year. The first coup was in January 15, 1966, and the second coup was in July 28, 1966. After the North felt that what do you call it?
Their coup was before our coup. Our coup was 24th February 66.
But there were two coups within the year.
Yeah, I know, but their coup came before ours.
That was January 15th, the first coup.
Then ours came in February. Then they had another coup.
Yeah, in July 28. That was a counter coup when the North came back. And that was what led to the civil war.
So the original coup was a Yoruba coup, Igbo Yoruba coup?
It was largely led by Igbo, middle ranking officers.
Including people like Ojukwu?
Not Ojukwu.
Okay.
Nzegu Kaduna, and then a couple of them like that. Victor Banjo from the south.
Why did the Igbos think they needed to overthrow the if you like, the tripartite leadership that had been created for Nigeria after independence?
Well, I don't know whether it is a deliberate...
Did they feel that they had been sidestepped, even though Azikiwe was their man?
But see,
that's NCNC, isn't it?
NCNC. Yeah. But you see, the issue with Nigeria at the time was that you had a singular north, and then the south were divided into two, where you have the southwest under Awolowo AG, and then you had the southeast under NCNC. But then, there was this election in 66 that the military felt was rigged, where the Tafawa Balewa government carved the Midwest under Dennis Osadibe. And then they had to jail Awolowo when they felt it was...
Yes, Awolowo was jailed for corruption.
No, it was jailed for colluding with Nkrumah to destabilize the country.
Nigeria, yeah.
And then, Samuel Akintola was favored by Tafawa Balewa, and there was this argument that he rigged the election in favor of Akintola in the southwest. And there was a crisis in the southwest, Operation Wetier, where there was this dispute between Akintola's faction.
But Nnamdi Azikiwe had been close to Nkrumah. He had studied in Ghana.
Sure.
And he had been Nkrumah's friend.
Yeah.
Nkrumah had not been on very good terms with Tafawa Balewa. Yeah. He wrote about him, and he wasn't happy that Nigeria hosted the Commonwealth Conference, I believe, of 1962. Nkrumah refused to attend the Commonwealth event and wrote a stinker to the British Prime Minister. I'll give you the documents. I'm preparing it for Ghana Month, where we will show a lot of the memo that Nkrumah wrote to his secretary about how he was unhappy with Nigeria and that Ghana was not going to attend the Commonwealth Conference. That was a big tension between Nkrumah and some of the Nigerians. That would be because he was not happy with the way Awolowo Azikiwe had been treated, on the basis that he was working with Azikiwe, which could have been true, really, with the benefits of hindsight. It could have been true because Nkrumah was looking to have Nigeria agree with the African Union policy. Nigeria was taking too long to come onto that one.
But I think Nkrumah failed to understand the reality. And you have a coalition government, whereby so each party has to agree. Either of the party had to agree before the government can take a definite position
on the African unity.
On African
Nkrumah
unity.
thought they were wasting time.
But then you see, it was also ideological. Azikiwe was a nationalist and probably a Pan-Africanist, for that matter, Azikism. But then the strongest party in the coalition, the Northern People's Congress, is very conservative because it's headed by people of blue blood. Might be Amadu Bello, is a descendant of Osman Danfodio.
Danfodio is the name I was looking for. Bello is a direct descendant of Osman Danfodio.
So he's a full-blooded, like royal, like a full. So he was also very traditional, having been raised through the Sokoto Native Council, the indirect rule. So he was not trying to modernize even the northern part too quick because he doesn't want to disrupt the traditional power structure. So there was also that tension. And then Awolowo, being a socialist, was more closer to Nkrumah, even though he was not a Marxist per se. So there was this tension between Tafawa Balewa being suspicious, and then Nkrumah also feeling, no, we need to move fast due to the size of Nigeria, and West Africa. Nigeria had about a 60 million population, so it was still very influential. But you see, the coup itself was led largely by Igbo officers, and then when the victims were being counted, the North lost more people. And whether by coalition or by design, I don't know whether it's deliberate or not. But then the winners of the coup, the outcome, favored the Igbos. Because why should the coup be plotted when Azikiwe was not in the country, being the president? And if you are trying to overthrow the government, the Yorubas lost Akintola.
He was killed.
Even Awolowo was released, so that was quite very nice. The North lost Tafawa Balewa and they lost Amadu Bello.
Bello was killed in that coup.
And then the mid-belt.
Tafawa Balewa was killed in that coup.
He was killed in that coup. And then the mid-belt lost Okotiebu.
Okotiebu was a very rich man.
Who was a minister
for Labor.
He was Minister of Finance. He was
Festus Okotiebu.
He was even seen to be more stronger more influential than Azikiwe in his own party because he was financing.
But Festus was thought to be the wheeler and dealer in corrupt practices in Nigeria. And for a documentary I watched, it's believed that the entire corruption stigma against Nigeria began with the activities of Festus Okotiebu, who was particularly wealthy, even in those days.
But then the question is, in the structure of power, where in the absence of, what do you call it, Azikiwe, the next highest authority is the Senate president, who was an Igbo man, for Orinzu. So if you are eliminating everybody in government, why was Orinzu spared?
So the North reacted.
The North was even patient for 6 months. Let's be very objective. The first coup was in July. The first coup was in January. The counter coup was in July. As I say, whether by design or consideration or collusion, the benefactors of the coup, the benefit will have gone to the Igbos. And then there was technically 3 coups in that year. Because the duty of the military is to aid civil authority. So you don't see ousting the government itself was equally a coup d'etat.
Yeah, it was.
Because Bukar Dana Dip Charima was chosen by the MPC to be a replacement for the premiership. But then
So let's move on and talk about the second coup came and it was established and it was there until 1969?
Yeah.
This was Gowon's coup?
No, the coup actually was led by Murtala Mohammed. But then, per the ranking, Brigadier Baba Femi should have been the
leader of the coup.
The leader. No, the leader of the country, per military ranking. But then they not felt that having given Ironsi the chance, and he failed to prosecute the coup plotters, they couldn't trust Saudina. And he was a Saudin officer from the southwest. So what did they do? They chose to elect or appoint the highest northern officer, who was Gowon and not Murtala Mohammed, to replace Ironsi. But then, Ojukwu and Gowon were of the same rank.
I see.
So Ojukwu felt there was no way he could take orders from Gowon.
If Gowon became the head of state.
If Gowon became the head of state. That was one side.
Because he was his mate.
He was his mate. And he was more educated.
From Oxford.
Yeah, than Gowon.
Yeah.
So he felt that the right thing should be done. That Baba Femi Ogundipe.
Isn't it impressive that Nigerian had an Oxford-trained officer in the 1960s in the military?
There's this
the Military Academy of Nigeria had recruited an Oxford-trained
scholar
scholar who at that time of the world the world was his oyster. He could work anywhere in the world. He decided to work in the Nigerian military, go to military academy. That's very impressive of Ojukwu.
No, but
I really like his nationalist
that he went into the
conceptualization.
army actually to revolt against his father's wish. His father wanted to be in business because the father was a businessman.
Yeah.
But he wanted to revolt against the father. So,
But he wanted to be a nationalist. He wanted
he
to be a
joined-
soldier.
Yeah, he actually joined as an NCO.
Oh, I see.
It took the intervention of his commanding officer, British, the guy was quite.
He was very clever. So they brought him
So
up.
he investigated. But then, so when it happened that way, so Gowon was brought, first of all, because he was a senior most northern officer. And secondly, the country was divided. You need to bridge the gap. So being a northern...
So Gowon came in 1966
Yeah,
and
but
led
then-
the country until Ojukwu tried to
but
break
then
away.
Gowon was a northern Christian. That's why he was appointed.
Yes. He was a northern Christian,
Northern
not
Christian.
a Muslim.
Yeah.
Yakubu Gowon is his name.
Yeah, he's a northern
But he's
Christian.
a Christian.
Yeah, so
but he
yeah.
kept Yakubu.
Yeah.
He's not Peter
So
or
most of the
Paul or
Christians
John.
in the
or-
northern part of the country,
They keep the northern names.
they have the northern names.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so he was also partially appeasing to the south.
Okay. That's why he probably was successful in the period that he was.
But then there was this belief that Murtala never accepted that verdict. So when he had his chance, he plotted.
was it Murtala who came after Gowon?
Yeah.
He took over from
So-
Gowon after the Civil War.
Yeah.
And then Murtala was killed by
Murtala was
assassination
killed,
in the Lagos go-slow when he was shot in his car.
Sure.
Then Obasanjo became.
Obasanjo came in.
Okay, so you had Gowon, Murtala, Obasanjo, all the way until Shagari.
Shagari came in.
That was a long Nigerian military rule in those days.
Sure.
Okay, so from Shagari, then again, Shagari was there for 2 years. Then came
No,
Buhari.
he served his first term. But in the second term, the
Oh,
election
before
was
the
rigged
second
and
term.
Buhari ousted him.
So he won a second term,
Yeah.
and it was believed that it was rigged,
And then
that
Buhari-
somebody else should have won.
Yeah.
Then Buhari, on the basis of the allegations that the election was
Ousted
rigged,
him.
came in 1983, I think it
yeah,
was.
but then there was also a deep.
So after Buhari, then there was Babangida.
Babangida, who also
Then there
ousted
was
Buhari.
Abacha.
No, there was Shonekan, who was supposed to be an interim
And then
president.
Shonekan was after Abacha. Wasn't he?
Shonekan was after Babangida.
So you know what they say in Nigeria. Shonikon was, and Shonikan
Yeah.
was really after Moshood Abiola.
Yeah.
That's how they put it. I'm sure you understand that. Because everyone believes that Abiola won
Won the
elections
election,
on June
and then
10th.
Babangida refused to accept
Babangida
the
refused to
verdict.
accept it. And they slotted in
Interim government.
So-
and Abacha was supposed to guard the government,
And then he
Abacha
came in.
outside the government.
So after Buhari in 1983, they
Yeah.
didn't get democracy until until Obasanjo
99.
was elected president, 99.
Yeah.
That's many years of military rule in Nigeria. So that accounts for the strong position of the military even today, isn't it?
Probably so, yeah. I think
Okay.
the longevity.
So Peter Obi was with which party?
Peter Obi was with PDP.
And he left.
No, it was Atiku's running mate in the 2019 election, actually.
Okay, why did he leave PDP? He wanted to be the leader of PDP?
I think he said there was this agreement. I don't know, maybe he felt he felt that there should be proper election without zoning. But he felt the condition going to the primaries would have favored Atiku.
Yes, obviously it was.
So
So he wanted a certain zonal to make the Igbo man the
Yeah.
leader. He didn't get it and he went abroad.
Yeah.
Why is he getting so popular? Is he saying something the youth like?
well, yeah, let's look at what brought Buhari into power in 2015. Was the vote from the youth. He's also riding on the same platform. I haven't seen Buhari has failed per his own argument that APC has failed. So try something new. And the second, there's another factor, the NSAS factor. It's also another factor that
Very
is
important
always
factor.
denting, what do you call it?
But the
APC's.
thing with NSAS is that Buhari is not on the ballot. Was Bola Tinubu, has he been fingered for something around NSAS?
Sure, there's this allegation that he has a stake in the Lekki toll booth that was managing the toll company, managing the toll booth in Lekki.
the one that broke out the NSAS situation.
Yeah, no,
the misbehavior of the people.
No. The NSAS was orchestrated by this special anti-robbery squad and their
Yes.
harassment of the youth.
Was it not something that occurred at the toll booth?
But you see,
Some
the youth
argument
gathered.
between some
The
people?
youth gathered at the toll booth. That was the heart of the protest itself.
Yeah.
There's this belief that allegedly that he has a stake
in that toll,
in the
collecting the money. Yeah.
So long as the youth are there, he's been shortchanged. So he has to activate the military. That's his own blame.
Was he able to? But he was a nobody. He's not a governor. He was nothing. How is he able to activate the military?
Well, because
Did the military take instructions
I think
from Bola
Tinubu? There was this panel that was constituted. But prior to that, before even the panel was constituted, there was this allegation that who gave the order, and the Lagos State governor said he wasn't. He's not aware of who gave the order. So there's question of who is responsible for the order, because
But will the police in Lagos take instructions from the former mayor, the former
think
governor?
on paper, Tinubu is not powerful in Lagos. But
Yes, so why did people think he was responsible for that?
Everybody knows the power behind Lagos. And
Which
the
is
owner.
what?
Tinubu is in charge of Lagos.
Till today.
He was seated Ambode to replace Ambode with his own candidate, Sanwo-Olu.
Yes, he did. But does it mean that the police can take formal instructions from him?
Well, he could use influence behind the scene.
Get other people to get it to
So
happen?
if you could unseat Ambode, what shows that you could unseat Sanwo-Olu? So you have to do his bidding.
Okay, so it was
That
widely
is the-
believed that. So this NSAS thing is fighting Tinubu's fortunes in this election.
Fortunes in this election.
Okay.
But then the election is ideally supposed to be a 2-month race.
Yes, between Tinubu and
Atiku Abubakar.
Atiku Abubakar.
And then these two are also veterans. And interestingly, Atiku also contested the primaries in 2015 with Buhari, in which he lost to Buhari on APC.
APC?
Yeah, on APC ticket.
Oh, I see. He left PDP.
Left PDP, came to APC, went to PDP.
I see.
But then the wild card in this election are these two candidates, Peter Obi and Kwankwaso.
Let's look at some of the surveys so that we can, in the next 5 minutes, let's look at that. We'll have a lot more to do later.
So this is the general survey coming from Bantu page.
Okay.
Per their own assertion, Peter Obi, Labour Party has 37% of the vote, and the 17% undecided. And then you have APC 15%, PDP 14%, not voting 8%, undisclosed 5%, and then New Nigerian People's Party, that is Kwankwaso's party, having 4%.
Okay, hold it there. So even if we were to add, not voting might not change their mind. Undecided 5% to 17%, that will give us 5 plus 17 is 22. If you add 22 to APC's 15, what do they get? 22 plus 15, 22 plus 10 is 25, plus 20 is 35, 37, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you were to add from their poll,
Yeah.
Undisclosed and
undecided.
undecided, if you give that to PDP,
Yeah.
they don't go beyond 37.
Yeah.
If you give that to APC, they get up to 37, not up to 40% of the
But
vote.
there's another
It doesn't seem to reflect the history of recent Nigerian elections.
But there's another thing with social law. You see, undecided and undisclosed, when people have not made up their mind, at last minute, they largely tend to either punish the ruling party or, in the quest for stability, favor the ruling party. So if out of their desire if out of anger against the ruling party, they decide to give their vote to Labour Party.
They are leading. That's why I didn't add it.
Then
They are leading, so that's okay.
But then
But if you add,
if for the fear of stability, they also decide to give their vote to APC, it also could lead to a runoff also.
I guess it's. I get 37 is a full runoff, but Nigerian elections don't happen that way often.
And then this is another opinion poll, which compare, I think.
I don't even know whether Nigeria have ever had a runoff.
But then
have they ever had a runoff? No, they haven't.
No. But one
They
thing
go
about
straight.
But one thing about opinion polls, it keeps favoring Obi.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Obi is more available on social media.
And then another thing we know,
Obi is very much available on social
And then
media.
another
So if
thing-
you are doing a social media poll, I don't know whether this poll was social media
this was
speaking
done.
to people.
Yeah.
And Obi supporters are more vociferous.
But I think we need to look at what will be the impact of the agitation in the East, the pro-Biafran agitation. Because one thing Obi has done,
Is there a pro-Biafran agitation already starting?
in the East, under Buhari's watch, we had this.
Yes. Are they asking for the Biafra kind of solution?
Well, there have been attacks on
A secession from the
They've
Nigerian
been
state?
attack on the EC office and then other facilities. But then another thing is that Obi has also been able to douse that kind of burning flame, even though it exists, but it's not as hot as it
But
is.
they don't have strength to succeed. They are like the
It's not about it, but it's about what because if they used to declare Monday sit-in. So if there's a sit-in, out of fear of violence, voters are afraid to come out in his own stronghold, which is the East. That could also affect his percentage margin.
What date is the election?
February 28th.
28th February.
Yeah.
Do you see any alliances? We'll do this again, but we have to go. Do you see any alliances being formed? Do you see Bola Tinubu or Atiku trying to get Obi on their side so that we can have
Well,
towards the
perhaps it
election?
will go to a runoff.
Obi comes to say that I have decided that I'm
But
supporting.
then let's look at these two things here, for example. We also have to do with PVCs.
Yeah.
You see, the North might be very conservative. The North might be less exposed to Western influence. But the North is more politically savvy than all the regions in Nigeria.
Okay.
Because
That's your own assessment, or it's born out of the data from
out
the
of fact,
historical?
Northerners
Do
vote.
they have a higher voter turnout?
Yeah, they
all the
always-
time.
Yeah. And this is a clear example.
But higher voter turnout will probably go for APC in the North.
And this is that's when these ones will affect. What we need to look at impact of NNP, New Nigerian People's Party, Kwankwaso's party. Well, he's from Kano State, and he's very influential in Kano State. And Kano State in the previous election, okay, what do you call it? Voted massively for Buhari and APC.
Yeah, they did.
So if he's
if you're able to take some of that
some
away,
of the vote, what will be the impact of that on
Tinubu's chances.
fortune.
But if he's taking from Tinubu, then Obi might be taking from Atiku.
Then Obi equally has so we're looking on that also. And then what will be the impact of Obi's strength in the east?
Like let's continue this later on. Viewers, you have to be you have to keep an eye on us. We will be giving you all the information from Nigeria. This is our preliminary one. Alhassan Bello is working on it. We are trying hard to get him into the belly of the story in Lagos or Abuja, where he'll be reporting to us on 20.